There's another layer of bureaucracy that looks like it's going to be imposed on Britain's farmers, and this time in the form of tightening shotgun regulations. These proposed changes currently under consultation with the Home Office. Again, the Home Office is the source of so much of a problem. If it can't manage the work it's already got to do, why is it creating more? Ostensibly, this is designed to enhance public safety. However, it comes with significant consequences for those who rely on shotguns as an essential tool of their trade. In reality, this isn't just about public safety, it's about increasing red tape, escalating costs, and placing yet another obstacle in the path of an already embattled rural community. Consider what's on the table. The government is suggesting that shotguns be subject to licensing restrictions akin to those of high-powered rifles. If enacted, these changes would mean each shotgun would require an individual license rather than a single certificate covering multiple firearms. Ammunition would need to be stored separately, including storage constraints. Firearms would be required to be stored off-site, potentially rendering them inaccessible when needed most, and an increase in the number of referees required for a license from 1 to 2. Police would be given expanded powers to seize firearms without a warrant if they consider a license holder unfit to possess them. These measures are being considered in response to recent high-profile shootings, such as the tragic Plymouth massacre in 2021, where the shooter Jake Davison killed 5 people with a pump-action shotgun. But let's be clear, the failure in that case was due not to lax laws, but due to failures in police oversight, and Davison's gun had previously been seized and inexplicably returned to him, despite clear warning signs regarding his mental health and violent tendencies. The issue was enforcement, not regulation. For farmers, shotguns are not weapons of crime but essential tools of the trade. Whether for pest control, livestock protection, or managing wildlife, shotguns play a fundamental role in rural life. A fox in a henhouse or a rabbit infestation in a field doesn't wait for bureaucracy to approve a firearm retrieval request. And restricting access to these weapons adds an impractical burden to those who already operate under tight financial and regulatory constraints. The countryside is not like urban Britain. It's not possible to store firearms in an off-site location and retrieve them in a timely manner when needed. A farmer cannot drive to a registered firearms dealer to retrieve a shotgun when a predator is actively threatening livestock. The notion's absurd, demonstrating a profound ignorance of the realities of rural life. Farming is already one of the most highly regulated industries in Britain, and recent changes to inheritance tax laws have left many family farms struggling with increased financial pressures. Now, with the potential for increasing license fees, mandatory additional referees, storage requirements, and so on, farmers are facing another additional layer of expense from a government that they perceive to be indifferent to their needs and to their and to their livelihood. The Home Office insists that recent increases in licensing fees will be used to improve the firearms licensing process, but given the track record of government inefficiency in such matters, farmers are justifiably sceptical. There's also concern about those fees combined with new restrictions, that they are less about public safety and more about discouraging firearm ownership altogether. Tim Bonner, the chief executive of the Countryside Alliance, has warned that these proposals represent a whole new political challenge in the relationship between Labour and the countryside. And the concern is that this government, already at odds with farmers over inheritance tax and food pricing, is engaged in an ongoing campaign that disproportionately targets rural communities. These proposals fit a broader pattern, a government that doesn't understand, nor particularly value, rural life, and they follow an urban mindset approach that equates all firearm ownership with criminality, ignoring the legitimate, responsible, and necessary use of shotguns in the agricultural sector. I remember as a child, I remember shotguns, and I remember their use, and so I'm always very supportive of farmers. I spent my childhood on farms, and I find it worrying, this government mindset, which is hostile, indifferent, contemptuous of the very stuff that has made Britain. And no one disputes the importance of ensuring that firearms don't fall into the wrong hands. Farmers themselves are among the most responsible gun owners in the country, accustomed to handling their firearms with care and diligence. But the issue at hand is proportionality, and the current licensing system already subjects shotgun owners to thorough vetting, including medical checks and background assessments. And the true problem lies not in the legislation, but in the enforcement. If the government wants to prevent tragedies like the Plymouth shooting, it should focus on ensuring that existing laws are properly implemented, rather than introducing a new layer of red tape that only burdens the law-abiding few while doing little to prevent crime. And these proposed shotgun regulations are yet another example of out-of-touch policy making that fails to account for the realities of rural life. And simply producing new legislation, as the Home Office is recommending, doesn't mean that it's actually doing any good. For farmers, it's sort of an illusion that the Home Office is actually doing something. It's doing nothing. It's sitting on its backside doing nothing, locking the door so no one can see that they're doing nothing. For farmers, all this represents additional costs, logistical headaches, and unnecessary restrictions on their ability to do their jobs effectively. Worse still, they deepen the divide between Labour and the countryside, reinforcing the growing perception that this government is actively working against rural communities rather than supporting them. If the government is serious about improving public safety, it should invest in better policing oversight and enforcing existing gun laws. But punishing legitimate gun owners for the failures of law enforcement is neither fair nor effective. Farmers deserve policies that support their livelihood, not more red tape that threatens them.